Hey, what's up everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so even though it's Sunday, still want to make my trip to LA today, even though it kind of defeats the purpose of what I said yesterday, given the fact that I don't have to do too much grocery shopping. I can still pick up some rice on the way to justify it, because I usually get my rice from a different place and I get everything else. So it's like, if I'm not going to go to both places, it makes no sense to go to Hollywood. Well, I can convince myself to go to both places to make it make sense to go to Hollywood today. Getting out is about noon, a little before noon, and I just felt like getting out, man. I know I got to be back here by 4:30, before 4:30 for certain, for Bible study, of course. But for now, I think it's just the most important thing for me is just getting myself out the house, get a little fresh air while it's still cool before it heats up again later on in the week. So it's about, let's say, 82 degrees right now, which is perfect for what we used to over here. Used to it being hotter, as we always talk about, but I ain't got no complaints, man. It's just one of them days where I really did not want to stay in the house. That's really what it came down to. I could have stayed in, did a little art, but I wasn't motivated to do that at all. I think if anything, I just wanted to be where I usually like to be at. Fresh air in the Hollywood area. You know what I mean? Kind of walk around that area. It just felt like being over there today. I don't think anything specific going on, nothing bad. I feel good. Got on my new jeans, the lighter jeans that I bought last week. I don't think I've ever had jeans this light, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever purchased jeans that light, but I just wanted to redo my wardrobe, as I was telling you guys about. And when I bought these jeans, I also got some pants, some shorts rather, that had like some leggings attached to them. And I was complaining about those yesterday, saying I probably wouldn't take them back. Well, I'm taking them back now. That's the point. Headed back to that Target. I'm glad I sat there and had my receipt printed out, because I guess the receipt printer on the machine I was using didn't work when I tried to check these out. So I had to sit there for another 15-20 minutes and have the exchange people take care of that for me. So I knew it made sense for me to get that receipt, and now that I found myself in the strongest position to not necessarily have any trouble, I got my receipt, even though it's in a printer paper. But still, I made sure that if I had to take anything back, it wouldn't be a problem doing so. And that was something that took an extra 15 minutes just to have her do that. So knowing that I did all that to get my receipt back, and knowing that I don't like the shorts that I purchased, I figured it'd make a lot of sense to take them things back, man, get my refund. So I really do hate them shorts. So that's what I'm doing right now. Got about 4 hours, roughly 4 hours to get there, get back. And so that's the plan. I did most of my grocery shopping yesterday, so it shouldn't be much more business to take care of other than that right there. But yeah, man, hope everybody's having a good weekend. Yesterday was pretty solid for me. Of course, as I told you guys, I just walked down to Target yesterday, did a video. Encourage you guys to check out all my latest content. Just talking about how us as black people, as usual, we talk about this ever so often. Just need to understand that we are not our worst enemy. We may be in regards to our actions, but not in regards to what's coming at us from a broader perspective. And so if we can start unlearning some of this culture that allows us to kill each other without any rhyme or reason, or allow us to be so adamant about it, erasing another person's life in our own community, maybe we can build our communities up to be strong enough for whatever comes our way. Because we always want to say that the police want to kill us off and all of these different things that we know we have to deal with. But at the end of the day, if we're killing each other off, we're not much better for us than maybe whatever else you may be considering your enemy. So we got to first realize we are not our worst enemy, behave as if we understand that, and then move in a direction that allows us to be strong as a community. So that's really what my video was about yesterday. Sick of hearing about young black men being cut down by young black men. It's something that I've been hearing about and been aware of my entire life, of course. But this era that we're in and have been in for the last 10 years or so has been pretty ridiculous. And it's drill culture and all that. So, yeah, man, just wanted to send some good energy out there to those who are trying to fight their way through that. That you should be willing to keep fighting your way through that. Not fighting each other, but fighting your way around. Handling your conflicts in such a finite way. That's why I appreciate, for all the things people say about West Coast politics, one thing I do appreciate is the willingness to run fades or fist fight their way through circumstances. It's still cool to fist fight out here. Yeah, people will shoot and all of that, that's real, but not every conflict is handled with a pistol. Sometimes you can really stand up, face a man, and run a fade. Or if it's not a fair fight in your situation, then you have somebody else from your crew run your fade for you and handle your conflict that way, and then you pay them back another way. Like, that's something that we have in the Western communities out here, that a lot of people in other avenues of life, they don't have those solutions. They're so quick to run from real confrontations where men have to fight men without the presence of projectile weapons. And you know what I mean? It's just, there are other ways to handle your conflicts. There are other ways to garner respect. There are other ways to prove your whatever it is you're trying to prove than to just pull out a pistol and aim and pull the trigger. Anybody can do that, but are you strong enough to face a person? Are you strong enough to man up and put yourself in a position to be strong in the presence of whoever, whether you win in that battle or lose in that battle? Are you man enough or woman enough in whatever situation to find another way? And that's really what is to be respected about this way of doing things that a lot of people out here do. It's still cool to fight. So maybe you don't want to fight, you don't want to promote violence of any kind, but if it's going to be an alternative to killing somebody, I think it's something that should be applauded. And I really do. So that's one thing I can say about the West. We will still box. And it be understood that some of the hardest people in the world out here are willing to do that. So proud of that. If nothing else, from my city, I'm proud of that. But yeah, man, just wanted to get some exercise today. Just trying to keep up with the body's aging process. It's frustrating because I am doing the work, but as far as my exercise and all that, but I'm still not seeing what I want to see in the mirror. And I think it has to do with my eating portions and stuff like that. But, you know, get as much exercise as we can out here and just do what it takes to be as healthy as possible. Can't reverse the aging process. Your body ain't never gonna look like it did when you were 25, but at least you can do what you need to do to get the most out of it at 40. So that's what I'm doing at this moment, trying to get as much walking exercise, especially since it's cooled down. Try to get a little more of that like I was doing at the beginning of my process in North Hollywood last year, which we are approaching a full year on. Approaching a full year in a few days. My first day in North Hollywood, I believe, was August 31st. Today is August 25th. So that's a real thing, man. Full year doing this. I tell you, it's been one of the most difficult, but one of the more rewarding times of my life. Just the same. Sometimes those two things go hand in hand. When you gain respect and strength and faith and all these different things. Respect for difficulties is what I'm trying to say. You know, you gain a certain understanding of how to appreciate life a little more, how to appreciate family, and learn to trust God, learn who your friends are, that type of thing. How important it is to value people who are strong in your corner, because when times are down, they're the ones that step up. And all of these different things, man, just remind me of the importance I should be placing on God and others who are around me, who treat me well and of whom I'm expected to do the same for. That's what this year has done for me. It put me back in a space that I hadn't been in a long time, where there was real stresses in my life, real uncertainty about my living situation. You know, that's not something that you want. But for myself, it's always been a wake-up call when I'm faced with that type of stuff, to say, you know, nothing is ever set in stone. You could be doing well financially, having good things going in your life. A few bad things can happen, and all of a sudden you're right back on the bottom again in this level of life. So if you have a lot of wealth, appreciate that you don't experience that. That's not something you want to worry about. Where you gonna stay, who's gonna, you know, be there for you in situations where you can't get this and need to get that. Those are things you don't want to worry about, man. For all the things that people complain about in life, your living situation, if you're fortunate enough to have never experienced anything like that, you don't want to go through anything like that. You should be very thankful that you have. And don't take that for granted, because there have been some people in your position who have lost everything and had to experience what it is that I'm referring to. We've seen it before. Sometimes people can be very rich and in their lives very poor. So every dollar should be respected. From my perspective, that's what I would say. And if you got it good, enjoy it. If you got some hard times from within those circumstances of privilege, understand the difference between what it is that you're going through and what it is that someone else is going through as it pertains to the desperation of their circumstances, and respect that desperation. You know, that's what I want to say. Respect that when you see somebody and somebody's doing bad as it pertains to how their finances are going and they look like they've been down and out. Respect that. Don't let it get to a point where you have to go through what they go through in order for you to have a true respect for what it is that they go through, because you can be humbled. And if you tell the universe, you tell God that you need to be humbled, He will humble you. That's what I've learned as well. That's the one thing that I can definitely tell people. From within whatever circumstance you in, you can be humbled. You appreciate your freedom. If you have it, you appreciate the safety of your surroundings. If you have that, you know what I mean? Because there are people in this world who don't have that. It's not in their lives that things are going to be okay. It may be in their lives that things are going to go absolutely wrong in most situations, and they're shocked when a day goes smoothly. Like, so a lot of people will complain a great deal from within some very privileged circumstances, and just because their day-to-day doesn't allow for them to feel much worse than what it is that they're dealing with, doesn't necessarily mean their worst isn't just around the corner to humble them and bring them to a space where they truly appreciate things. My advice to all of y'all is to appreciate things before it gets to that point. Cherish your good moments before it gets to that point. You don't know what's around the corner. It could be really good, it could be just more of the same, or it could be really bad. You never know, man. So I'd say, if you listen to me and you're enjoying your day, show a little appreciation for that. That's what I say. But yeah, man, paying attention to everything. As I always say, what's going on in Gaza. The latest has been attacks back and forth between the resistance, Hezbollah, and of course the Israeli soldiers. And from what I understand, Israel's Iron Dome has not been functioning in the way that they needed to. So a lot of those bombs that have been coming Israel's way have been landing on their soil. And that's a real thing. This morning I saw a tanker, an Israeli tanker, was bombed out in the middle of the ocean somewhere by Hezbollah, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, the resistance is enacting their plan. I don't know how far the resistance is intentional on taking this plan. I don't know what that plan is, but from what I understand, they're in phase 1 of that plan. So I just say, man, the more we learn about what's going on in Israel, the more we understand what they consider normal and acceptable, the more we understand that we're not in a world that would allow for what they do to be acceptable across the boards. Valuing themselves over others and trying to prove a point by destroying people completely just for the sake of them losing a couple of people. That's not something you would ever accept from anyone else. And it shouldn't be accepted from them. You don't have the right to wipe out 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, whatever it is, people, just because you lost a few people, just because you lost 1,000 or whatever you say it is. That's not right. That is not get back. That's an excuse for you enacting the evil that's already in your heart before anything even happens to you. That's what that is. That's the truth of the matter about Israel. Regardless of what anyone says to me, Israel was always the worst of the two parties. Regardless of what happened on October 7th, was as it's told to us or some other thing happened there. When you go off and you intentionally target innocent people and children in response to whatever happens to you, the reality was you was the bad guy the whole time. That's the truth about that. It's an eye for an eye, not 700 eyes for an eye. You understand what I'm saying? That's not good math. You're the aggressor in that situation. And the only shame about it is that they didn't wipe you out before you had an opportunity to do that to them. That's the only shame in all of this. I think it's amazing that one of the hostages that were taken by Hamas has come out lately and essentially said that the stuff that's been said about her in regards to how she was treated by the Hamas soldiers was a lie. And the only time she went through any bodily harm is when an Israeli strike hit the building she was in. It injured her. Otherwise, she was not forced to cut her hair. She was not treated inhumanely, and they did not harm her. Now, this woman used to be a soldier. From what I understand, she was a soldier. She wasn't just some innocent person that was taken hostage. This is someone who's already fought many times over for Israel. And she's been filmed a lot. She's one of the faces of this process. She appears to be Asian to me, but she has Israeli roots. However that goes. She wanted to make a point to the rest of us, everybody who's paying attention, that the media is trying to paint her out to be more of a abused hostage than she was. And she did not appreciate, she don't want to be used by the Israeli media, the Western media, in this way. She believes that the truth should suffice. She don't need to tell people that they did something to her. The only people that did anything to her was her own people when they bombed the building. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know how much I should trust this woman, to be honest with you. I've seen also circumstances where she's stood next to officials that want the worst for people. I think at the end of the day, if you're an Israeli settler fighting for the right to stay in that place and for things to continue as normal, then you're probably on the wrong side of everything that's right, basically. Because essentially, in order for things to continue to be normal, you have to stay in this apartheid system that treats Palestinian people horribly. So I don't trust anybody that's really on that side of the fence. I respect that many of them have a lot to learn in order for them to get on the right side of the fence, but until they get there, what they believe in is going to really be horrible in terms of how people were treated in order for them to succeed. Now, maybe you say I'm a hypocrite because America's that way indeed, in the sense that a lot of what we benefit from, even me holding this phone, had to come from probably a small child in some very unsafe conditions, depraved conditions, getting the materials necessary for this phone to exist. And I've known about that. So there's not much trust I can really have for even what's around me based on how much suffering had to be done to innocent people in order for it to still stand. But I think I weigh that against my willingness to say these words and mean them when I say, I can't wait for this to change. I can't wait for justice to be found for every single soul that's ever went through anything in the name of building up America or building up the Western world or building up whatever. However, it benefits myself. I don't want anything like this to happen any further. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's not a simple fix. These circumstances, both ours and Israel's, especially when the people who are running the show are still intentional on keeping things the same way they've been, or worse, continuing to find new people from which to torture with this nonsense. New babies have to suffer in these various places like Congo and Palestine so that we can have the satisfaction of the people who run this country and run the Western world. I don't think that any of that is okay in any way, and would love to find a better way in my lifetime. And if not, then at least plant the seed in all of you guys that a better way is possible and that it's our responsibility to find it. It's worth finding. These people's lives are meaningful. And that's what I want to say, man. People's lives are meaningful, bro. I think that when you live in a space where you're comfortable with standing on the backs of oppressed people, you have blood on your hands. You may not have done anything physically that would otherwise harm anybody, but in order for things to work out for you, you have to be fine with people being harmed. And you contribute to the environment for which the pressure is on to keep harming people in order for you to succeed. Until you speak up against that nonsense and put down some of the things that otherwise enable that to be the case, you're going to always contribute to the environment for which people are hurt. People are struggling. People are exploited, or what have you. None of that should be co-signed by people who consider themselves to be good. And that's where we're headed in the future. I'd like to think that seed will be planted going forward. And it is okay to stand up against that nonsense, even if you're from it, even if you benefit from it. Hell, especially if you benefit from it. It's most important that you stand up to it. It's just like the concept I presented to you earlier in the video. You shouldn't have to wait for circumstances in your life to get as bad as they can in order for you to have a certain appreciation for things being better and for you to respect that they are bad for others. You shouldn't have to be able to relate to someone suffering to request that suffering end, to see the notion that suffering should be ending. It's a very primitive mindset and selfish, self-centered mindset that needs to change, that would otherwise be comfortable with other people suffering. And so when I speak that way, it lends itself to what we're talking about here. I'm not going to sit up here and give a pass to people who've never been through some of the things that I've ultimately talked about. What's going on in Congo, what's going on in Palestine. I'm not giving y'all a pass because you haven't been through it, so therefore you don't respect it. It's that I'm telling you, we need to be smart enough and compassionate enough to look at things that we do not relate to and still want them to change for the betterment of other people. It shouldn't be just us saying, well, I ain't been through that, so I don't respect it. It ain't happened to me, so I don't care. Because the moment something happens to you, you're going to be looking around for support from people, and they're going to have that mindset that you've been harbored. It ain't happened to me. I don't care. And a lot of times people live their way that way because they feel like when times do get hard, they never see any support. Where would that support otherwise come from if not from what it is I'm suggesting? That you look at something that you cannot relate to and still have an urgency about seeing it change for the better. That's all you asking anybody else to do. when they see you suffering and don't give a damn. You're asking them to do what it is you were unwilling to do. So what contributes to the environment for which you would benefit from when you're suffering the most? If not for individuals who are stepping up and saying, I don't relate to that, but I do care enough. Maybe within the environment around me, it's not within the betterment of my politics, or I may look like a weirdo, but I'm still standing against what is ultimately coming down against them. That's going to be the environment that helps you through whatever it is that otherwise you would need support for. It's that level of sacrifice of one's own, whatever the heck that is, so that they can be a part of an environment that supports people who are needing that help, who are suffering or what have you. Many people ain't gonna be able to. And you can contribute to those many people who aren't by continuing on this path or not. And you believe what goes around comes around, and you come to understand that you're not helping anybody or not standing up against what otherwise should be stood up against for the sake of your own politics or what's normal, or feeling like you need to fit in or not looking weird or whatever the word would be. You got to understand that when your time comes around, there's going to be a lot of people who ain't going to be there for you either. They ain't going to support you. They're not going to stand up for the rights of whatever it is that matters most to you. They're not going to be looking for your lost loved one or whatever the case may be. And you remember this conversation. Why? Because you didn't stand up when it was time for you to stand up, when somebody needed you to come together and stand up. In fact, you looked at the people who were doing so and shunned them because they were, well, weird. You were part of that environment that deterred the change necessary for them to be relieved of the suffering they went through. So when that suffering comes back around and bites you in the backside, and you don't see nobody helping you, but they are standing together, looking at those who are helping you, saying that there's something wrong with them, or shunning them for doing so, you understand that that's what came back around. And you put that out. You put that out. When you tried to silence people for standing up for Palestine, when you tried to silence people for standing up for however they did, when you didn't contribute yourself to being a part of the movement that otherwise stood against that nonsense, you put that out, and like a boomerang, it came back to you. So I'm telling everybody who listens to me, if you're going to put out the wrong stuff, do expect that someday, when you need support, that support will either not be there, or it'll be fake, temporary, and ultimately ready to pull the rug out from under you. Because that's what you will have deserved for how you treated these people. That's how you will have deserved for aligning with what was otherwise cool. In the environment for which it's cool to treat people poorly, it's cool to accept that that's somebody else's suffering, not my own. Let's continue enjoying life as we've been enjoying it. Who cares what happened to them? It ain't happening to me. And then the notion that nothing will happen to you, so you can continue doing that. I'm looking at people right now in the Starbucks line, buying whatever they are, giving money to Israel, not respecting the suffering of people who are suffering because of what it is that Starbucks ultimately invests in Israel. Acting like they can't have their kids pulled out from under rubble someday. You understand what I'm saying? That's the problem. It's the disconnect. It ain't happening to me. It may. Before you go in the ground, it could be very well you going through those circumstances. You carrying your child unalived in some horrific situation. Y'all didn't respect it when it was happening to Palestinians because you didn't think much of the Palestinians. But when it happens to you, suddenly it's woe is me. Oh, the world is falling. Where's the help? Where's the humanity? Where's it now? Where's it now? It's nestled underneath what you consider to be acceptable. It's nestled underneath what it is you consider to be normal. It's nestled underneath your depiction of what the value of that person is worth. That's where the humanity is. It's stuck underneath all of that. Where is it? You didn't put it out. How's it coming back? That's what needs to be expressed to a lot of people who are within privilege without a respect for suffering. You didn't put out any good that would otherwise bring back any support for your humanity and that of who it is that you would want people to stand up for. And just because it ain't happened yet don't mean it ain't coming. That's the problem with a lot of y'all. The devil has convinced you that you ain't never going to go through nothing. So you can continue living this way, letting other people go through something for your benefit. As if the tables will never turn. That's the disconnect with a lot of people. The tables do eventually turn. You will eventually have to face what it is that ultimately you are allowing to happen. It may be you pulling your child out from under rubble. It may be you underneath that rubble. It may be you screaming out, where's the humanity? For whatever the hell happens to you. Why ain't nobody coming to help me? Why is there no support? Why is everyone so comfortable watching me suffer? You contributed to said environment when it came to somebody else. You were absolutely fine with investing in what was abusing them and torturing them and annihilating them and denying them their basic rights and humanity. You contributed to that. You paid into that. You turned a blind eye to that. You shut your mouth. It wasn't convenient for you to speak up against what it is that was happening to them. You didn't want to look crazy amongst those who were fine with doing it to them. You wanted to fit in with those people. You wanted to keep the structure of what was going on around. You thought that if you stood up for them, it could deteriorate certain things that you felt were most important in your life. So you didn't want to stand up against them because it trickled down to bad things happening to you. So you thought. What about Project 2025? My reproductive rights. They killing each and every one of these kids over there in Palestine. And the first thing you're thinking about is your reproductive rights. What about their rights to reproduce? Post-delivery, what do they call it? It's like a post-delivery abortions being taking place in Palestine. Or they killing these people, baby, after they come out of the belly. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all ain't care about that. Y'all stood up and clapped for Harris and Biden, who were sending the weapons over to kill these children. I mean, when you really zoom out at it, we're in it right now, and it's ridiculous in and of itself. But when you zoom out, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, they look back at all of us, we're some of the worst people to ever walk the earth. Because we were fully aware of what was going on. And not only did we turn a blind eye, but we vilified those who were standing up against it. We painted them out to be terrorists. We painted them out to be nutsos. We painted them out to be disruptors. To be people who ultimately were against our country and all different types of other stuff that ain't gonna age well. It ain't gonna age well. And at some point in time, we gotta respect the history of times. It's different situations that have this same application of compliance applied to it, where people didn't care. The people in Germany who didn't care that they were killing off Jews. People in America who didn't care that they were slaving black people. Didn't care that they were vilifying the resistance to bad energy pointed at black people. People who didn't care about Native Americans, just wanted to come and settle the land. And they have to, of course, be removed. I'm not a bad person. I'm not going to dirty my hands with their blood, but I'm certainly not going to speak against them doing it because obviously I want the land to be cleared. What makes you and your ancestors any different than the settlers of Israel? Than those who were compliant with slavery in the past in the 1800s, 1700s? How do you convince yourself you are any different than them? You're just applying that same indifference to these new people who are going through this thing that they're going through. You're not different. You didn't care nothing about their lives. Those people didn't care nothing about those lives. Those people didn't care nothing about those lives. And the beat goes on. You know what I mean? Everybody compliant. And that's the evil of the circumstance. It's not just in those who are getting their hands dirty. It's not just in those who are fighting the bad fight, so to speak. It's in those who made it a comfortable environment for which that fight would be accepted. That is worth doing. Yeah, just take their land, kill them off, and we'll come in, settle the land, build something beautiful, raise our children. You know what I mean? And we're good people because we take care of our children. It's like that type of mentality is why so many people are suffering all over the world. Because people equate helping themselves to being good people. We need a state, so therefore they gotta go. You're gonna displace those people from their own land. You're gonna destroy these people so that you can have a land. Why? Because we deserve to live. And look to the person left of you. See, I'm helping my friend. So therefore, I am unselfish and I'm a good person. That's the essence of what this has been. In all of these situations. Of course we need slaves. We're trying to build our country. Like, type stuff. They get hurt. Yeah, but we're helping each other, so we're good people. They have to suffer terror. Yeah. I mean, that's what's required. It's necessary. Our lives over them. We're more important than them. Of course we're more valuable. Look what we contribute to the earth. We're more valuable. That type of thinking. It's like that's why people suffer, because you allow for that to be in your midst. World. We don't do a good enough job of punishing and deterring that thinking. You let too many peoples and societies live that way, think that way, apply that indifference to other people, and then shell themselves as if they got the world coming up against them for no reason. Become the victims when something bad happens to them, because of course that line of thinking extends to when you strike back at me for doing this. Dare you strike back at me as I'm trying to build my land on your back? Dare you think that you can defend yourself against the suffering that I apply to you ahead? You are supposed to fall down. I am supposed to stand on you, and you're supposed to be comfortable with that. Why? I don't care why. And they don't even answer that question. It's like, why? Who cares? I'm not you, and that's my blessing. So I can do whatever to you, because what hurts you doesn't hurt me. Like, you let people live that way and feel comfortable in that space for too many generations. Too many generations people get away with this. I don't care what happens to them. Doesn't hurt me. My nerve endings aren't hurt by their pain, so squash them like a bug, man. Dare those bugs try to strike back at me. Where's the humanity? That's what Israel's engaging in. That's exactly who they are. They're doing that. October 7th was the bugs striking back, so to speak. And they're appalled. Weren't they deterred by my posturing and all of the pain that I've applied to them? Dare they have some pride about themselves that would make it so that they felt they had the right to defend themselves? Can't you see that you don't? Look at the people I've paid to agree with me. They will all tell you, you don't have a right to defend yourself. I have a right to take from you what I do, and then when you hit me, I am at that point defending myself. For I am the main character. This is about me and getting my land, and I don't want to suffer, and I refuse to suffer, and you will suffer to assure I don't. And if you have anything to say about that, I will annihilate you with the power I've gained. And with the compliance of those who are too chicken shit to stand up to me, too compromised and too selfish within what it is that I'm willing to part with in order to keep them in my back pocket. With that collective energy, we will deem you less valuable than us. And we are good people because we're taking care of us. And you are bad people because you are trying to stop us from doing so. That type of nonsense is the essence of white supremacy. It's the essence of why so many have suffered so that they could stand. It's the mentality that allows them to sleep at night as they engage in this nonsense all over the world throughout the course of history and time. Dare you stop me from building what I have to build? This is how we build. On your back. You work for us. You suffer for us. You dare not strike back at us as we make you do so. You will have no ego. You will have no pride about yourself. You will take what it is we give to you. And if we agree that giving you nothing is the way to go, you will starve and you will be quiet about it. And in being quiet about it, you will praise us for being the builders that we are. And if you don't agree, we'll kill a few of our own, blame it on you, and then proceed to annihilate you with the support of everyone who's paying attention. In response to what we're saying you did that obviously you had nothing to do with. But that's what you get for bucking back at us as we're continuing our plan to build what we're building. Dare you not? Dare you not? Because there's nothing I'm not willing to sacrifice, including many of my own. That's the essence of white supremacy. It's exactly what it is. And many people who are not a part of that community are warped into believing that they're better off for them being in charge. Some very, very warped version of Stockholm Syndrome is what I think that is. Stockholm Syndrome. Massa been good to me. He let me sit in the big house. Massa didn't trade away he didn't sell my sons. He didn't sell my daughters, so I'm loyal to Massa. That's that shit. That's exactly what that is. He let me have part of the big hog today. He gave me a big piece of the hog today. Every Sunday, I'm able to stop working for an hour and a half. Like that type of shit. And so you got so many people of color and people in various places who need to be standing up against this nonsense so they can be actually treated the way that they're supposed to be treated, and that their fellow brothers can be treated the way they're supposed to be treated. And they fighting tooth and nail to uphold the suffering that happens to other people that look just like them because they're getting a big piece of the meat this week. And that's what I'm saying. We need to shun that type of stuff too. That type of selfishness, that type of evil within our own communities that would allow for us to continue to align with something that's meant to harm us just because a few of us are getting treated less horrible than a few others. And we can differentiate between the two. It's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I could be forced to work 24 hours a day, or I could be gifted with the blessing of only working 23 hours a day. It's like that type of, you know what I mean? You sell your brother down the river so that you can get that extra hour, so that you can reward your master for giving you that extra hour. So that you can show your loyalty to that master in hopes that maybe he'll give you two. It's been far too much of that going on that allows for them to continue doing what they do. That's why I look at people like Kamala Harris and I say, you part of that. You part of that nonsense. You are black and Indian, and you are fine with Palestinians suffering. These people are your skin color. These people look more like you than they look like a lot of us. Kamala, you selling your own people down the river. Talking about you fighting for a ceasefire. You the arms dealer. How you fighting for a ceasefire? You the arms dealer. You're the one giving them the weapons to do it. If they don't have you, they don't do. I'm talking about you, ceasefire. You ain't a ceasefire type of entity. You are more of a, let's keep on doing what it is that makes me look good. I will say whatever jargon I need to say to keep the people around me thinking I'm better on their side, and then we'll just sell you some bullcrap jargon, joy talk. The word joy is being pointed out a lot of what's going on in regards to her campaign. Oh, joy this, joy that, joy this, joy that. Ain't no real joy. You know what joy comes from, Kamala? Joy comes from seeing people like you go to prison for the rest of their lives for genocide. That I get joy from that. That's where the joy comes from. When we don't see Palestinian children bombed to hell 24 hours after you send the bombs to Israel to do it. I get joy from that. It's ridiculous, man. The first thing they want to do is throw somebody black in your face or brown in your face to put forth the guise that what they're doing is fine. They ain't never going to be fine. I don't care who aligns with that. I don't care how many people you got thinking that they're going to get that second hour off of work. I don't care about none of that. I see very clearly, you're an abuser. You're a manipulator. You're a liar, and you're a murderer. And I shouldn't be working a single hour for you. And I should want to fight tooth and nail to keep from having to, rather than rewarding you for removing an hour or two from a 24-hour damn shift. You do not have my mind as it pertains to me being thankful for all of the evil that you don't do as opposed to what it is you're capable of doing. I don't want to see you do any evil, ever. I don't want to see you, period, at this point. I'm not thankful for all of the good things that I deem as good that you've done, because you've compounded all of that with more and more suffering upon people who didn't deserve it. I do not care that you provided me my favorite TV show or some of my favorite movies that I grew up watching were funded by you. You are killing children in real time. All of that is negated. You have sullied all of that. You've taken all of the things that otherwise I would give you an applause for, and you turned them into boos. You've killed more children than you've garnered views. That's what I would say to Hollywood. And if you're doing this to Palestinian children, then maybe some of those things that we've seen in regards to rumors about how you treat other children and how deeply, deeply depraved you guys are towards children around here are true. Because you obviously don't mind supporting the death of children. So imagine what else you're willing to do. I'm not celebrating you. I'm from Hollywood, California, and I'm telling you right now, I ain't celebrating them. I don't give a damn how many Seinfelds they've given us over the years. These people are supporting the death of children for the betterment of their own happiness and safety. There's no safety in that. You're just making people hate you any damn way. Safety comes from when you fight for the betterment of the survival of others, not for when you fight for the deterioration of entire peoples. You don't find yourself safe from thinking that way, from aligning yourself that way. That's a damn lie. That's a lie that you've told yourselves to convince yourselves it's okay to do the depraved things that you agree to do. It ain't never helped anything, and it certainly ain't helping you. You're just creating more enemies in this world, and more people who are willing to boo you who would otherwise clap for you. That's all you're doing. Sullied y'all names forever. Sullied y'all people forever. Sullied y'all flag forever. Nobody ever gonna look at y'all the same way. Because we know every good thing that you ever did was leading up to this one thing right here. So that's pretty much what I have to say, man. Shame on anybody who's aligning with that. Shame on an environment that would align with those who are aligning with that. It shouldn't be done, man. Y'all have your priorities messed up. Y'all care more about what people dress like and what people call themselves than people getting killed over there and babies getting slaughtered over there. The priorities is wired exactly the way they need you to so they can continue doing this. Worried about what that person call themselves, how they dress up or whatever. That shit don't really matter. It doesn't. I hate to break it to a lot of y'all, but it don't. What does matter is the things that we allow to happen that directly directly affect the suffering of people, directly to cutting down innocence. You know what I mean? That's what really matters, not all this identity stuff that people are so up in arms about. That shit does not matter, man. BDL 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.